And we're back with the spoiler discussion for the Fairy Tale Oracion Seis arc. Seki, did you want to go ahead and lead us off?
Yeah, okay. So obviously this is the next major arc after the last one we covered, and we did watch the entire arc. It is self-contained in the section of episodes we watched. It was 17 episodes, so it's a little on the heavier end. Edilus will be 20 though, so
and pretty far into a shonen though. A lot of the arcs are going to start hitting that long, if not longer.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, looking forward, I think one of the longest arcs in Fairy Tail is only like 50 to 70 episodes, which still puts it far shorter than some of like One Piece's
That's still 3
longest
submissions
arcs.
on our ability to watch though.
Well, that's not 3. That's like about 4.
Look, we'll get there when we get there. So essentially, what's happened is. And some of this was set up, like, back at the beginning of the show, right? Because we talked about Dark Guilds and Dark Guild alliances and people like Eisenwald and stuff way back in, like, the first 10 episodes of the show. And then we talked about it a little bit again with Phantom Lord. And then, obviously, Jalal is kind of... Spoiler, Jalal is back, technically, from Tower of Heaven. So, it's not unconnected to the previous story. But basically what happens is Fairy Tail is tasked to get together in a task force with some of the other major light guilds in the area, most of whom we've actually met the masters of. They're coming for me. My crimes, they've been realized.
FBI, open up!
No, you're just too flamin' hot.
God, I wish.
And we're clear.
They're not coming for me. Okay, good. I live to run another day. Bitch, I don't run.
FBI, open up.
Right. But, so we actually already met a bunch of the guild masters for all these guilds that we're talking about back during the first couple arcs with Eisenwald in specific, because Eisenwald was trying to ambush the Master Summit. We met Master Bob then, we met the Master of Quattro Kerberos, and some of the others. So we are kind of returning back to some old characters and ideas, but basically they send the Fairy Tail team, the traditional Fairy Tail team, to meet up with teams from a bunch of these other guilds like Pegasus, Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, Quattro Kerberos, I think, and...
Quattro Kerberos we don't.
No, not Quattro Kerberos, somebody else. Cat something. And so, but because of that, we get to see Leon again and his companions, who have joined a light guild following the end of the Galuna Island arc. Right, which is pretty cool. We're back to seeing him again, which means we've got some more interplay between him and Gray. And then we have Wendy come in from... Oh, God. She's from Cat... Whatever it is. Yeah. So Wendy comes in. She's adorable. You loved her entrance.
Yes, look, I love whenever you see a little girl enter the screen and it just eats shit.
Just absolutely ate shit. And the best part was, the episode it happened right at the end. It played it like 3 times, and then the next episode did a recap and played it like 3 more times. So it was like one of those like America's Funniest Home Videos repeat reels of just Wendy eating shit. And then we also get T.H.E and the Host Boys, as I like to call them. And let's be honest here. Universally acknowledged in the Fairy Tail fandom, T.H.E is definitely the hottest being that's ever existed on the planet. Like, obviously. Who would ever think any different? And then Hibiki Ren and who knows what the other one's name is. I can genuinely only remember 2 of them at a time. Of the Host Boys. They're not Host Boys, but they act like it. And
They pretty much were.
I'm not a super big fan of them, but T.H.E for like a sheer value of what the fuck is pretty amusing. And so basically they all get together and they have to stop this Dark Guild. And the Dark Guild is Oracion Seis. And it's made up of 7 members.
Well, they say 6, but it's 7.
It's 7. Which basically consists of kind of each with a mage with a different speciality, and they're all kind of working together to start the end of the world with Nirvana?
Yeah.
Nirvana.
It's called Nirvana. Yeah. So then the arc basically devolves into like one long battle royale over Nirvana. Let's be honest here. That's essentially what this is. It's a battle royale over Nirvana.
More like a team deathmatch.
Yeah. A team deathmatch. I will say, so we've got some fun character introductions like Racer and Cobra and Angel, and I love me some Midnight. So when I said that 2 of my favorite characters get introduced here, it's Midnight and Cobra. I adore them with everything in my soul. So that's kind of a brief overview of the arc. So we get a shit ton of new characters, which means we get like new fighting combos and stuff. And then we just have like a knockdown, drag out fight for like 12 episodes.
I gotta say, there were just too many characters for me.
There are a lot of characters introduced.
And it feels like too many of them, like, some of them get some fun fights, and then a lot of them kind of feel like they get sidelined, especially halfway through the arc, like a bunch of characters just on both the Oracion Seis, is that the pronunciation of
I
the guild?
think it's Oracion Seis.
For some reason I was thinking it was Oracion Seis.
So that's how I used to think it was pronounced, but I looked it up, and at least in the Japanese, they say Oracion Seis, and it does have CI with the apostrophe on the O, which would lead me to think that which would, based on the name, lead me to associate it more closely with Spanish pronunciations of Sion at the end of things, like Fascinacion and stuff, which would make me think Oracion. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Oracion Seis.
But between Oracion Seis and the
Kate Shelter, thank you.
And the collection
Pegasus,
of guilds.
Yeah, Lamia Scale, Kate Shelter.
A lot of those characters just disappear as soon as Nirvana is introduced.
I would say, you know what's the best decision I think they had made? That Kate Shelter only sent Wendy and Shadu.
There's a reason in arc for that.
I know the reason, but it makes it a lot more palatable to have the guild only send one member. But I could see why, theoretically, right? I could see why you wouldn't want to send all 4 members of Fairy Tail and then only one member of each of the other guilds. So I get why they sent teams, with the exception of Wendy, which makes sense. But it does mean that we have like a main cast of like 12 to 16 people on the side of Fairy Tail, and then 7 on Oracion Seis.
And then I feel like the arc should, like, although I don't mind those other guilds being involved, I feel like maybe they should have picked 1 or 2 people to really focus on, and everyone else just be more in the background, especially after things go to shit early on in the arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12. Because it was 1 to 2.
So Wendy,
Yeah.
Chia, Hibiki, Ren, and the other one. Leon and 2 sidekicks, Jura and the pink-haired bitch.
Yeah.
And then
R4.
Wendy, Natsu, Lucy, Gray, and then the 2 Exceeds does make a 14-character cast on our side of the story.
That's just too much.
Yeah. And then you've got 7 on the side of Oracion Seis.
It doesn't help that a lot of them are either new
Plus
characters
Jalal.
or characters we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, because we haven't. So this, other than Leon and what's her face, his pink-haired girl. I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Who we haven't seen since Galuna Island.
Those are the only 2 we've seen before.
Yeah.
Of everyone that we're meeting. Honestly, you know what I'm gonna admit right here and now? I forgot that Jura was in this arc, because he comes back in like a big way later on around episode like well past the time skip. I don't remember exactly where. And I'm gonna be honest, I forgot he was introduced to us before then. Like, I completely forgot that he existed in this arc.
You thought it was just something that they as characters knew from just the world?
Yeah, like I did not recognize him at all.
I can't remember most of the new characters, not even by face. Like, if they show up again, I'll be like,
you remember
"Have you seen me
Wendy?
before?" Yeah.
And you'll remember Ichiya forever.
Yeah.
When Guy, whatever his name was.
Was that Jura? older, taller, bald guy, one of the 10 listening saints? Wind guy.
Evil wind guy.
Oh, is that Racer?
No.
Cobra?
No, it's the one that, like, tried to destroy the hall. Like, the
Which one?
guild leaders. Not there.
Oh, you mean the dude from Eisenwald?
Yes.
Yeah. He was back. Briefly,
yeah.
Yeah, he was back. I forget.
Mr. Bob.
I forget how often he shows back up throughout this series. Like, you would think that this, like, I don't know, Igor or something? Something. Whatever he is, you would think that after they beat the shit out of him in, like, the first 10 episodes, he'd be done, right? But no. He just keeps coming back like a goddamn cockroach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
But I can understand where, like, this arc was a little odd, because I feel like it's calling back to so much previous information, but at the same time, rather than work with with all the information it's already calling back to, it's then adding a bunch of extra shit on top of that.
Like,
so you're both trying to remember, like, plot points from the first 10 episodes, but then also, you know, fucking 9 new characters.
It doesn't help that the arc also very early on tries to make itself out to be like some culmination of other arcs, and it's like, wait, but those other arcs didn't mention the Oracion Seis.
Technically, they did, just not directly.
Yeah.
And it was because we have heard about the Balam Alliance like 3 or 4 times, and the Dark Guilds, but never by name. Although I think I saw something about this, but if I had gone back and checked, I think in the earlier episode when Master is explaining the Balam Alliance and Dark Guilds back at the beginning, Oracion Seis is actually written on screen in the little explanation diagram that they show.
Yeah,
but they don't. It's not specifically mentioned.
If we had seen, like, each of these villains be sort of their own, like, people within these specific arcs, and they all come together for this arc, or if we'd seen a lot of these characters that are on the fairy tale good side prior, and they were, like, returning side characters for this arc, that'd have been really cool. That would have made this big, like, Avengers moment.
Mm-hmm. But
that
it's
not. They're trying to build it up to be, but
do you know what the interaction between T.H.E and Urza felt like to me?
Mm-hmm.
You know that moment in Avengers when Hawkeye and Scarlet Widow are just like, it's just like Budapest. This is nothing like what I remember in Budapest.
You get the idea that they've worked together before.
No, they definitely have, and like it went very differently according to their 2 ways of telling it. And to this day, I do not know what he did to make her so about it, and I
don't know. I feel like we can guess that just by
curious.
seeing him, because he as a character just like ooh.
It's the perfect parfum for the story.
I will say this, like, the reason why I say, like, I felt the story expanded, because they also tried to do, like, some of the backstory of the evil guys, but it's like, they didn't do anything almost at all of it. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, once again, I'm left here just kind of thinking, you know, several of these characters come back later, and we actually get a lot more context on them when they come back later. And I think a lot of my love for them is from that ongoing knowledge I hold.
One character I really liked.
Who?
Was it Red Eye? Or what is his name? The guy...
Racer? Hot Eye?
Hot Eye.
Yeah.
I really liked his character, even though I don't like how they got him to that point.
He was the fast man, right?
No, he was the blocky guy. The brother to the previous character we've seen.
Yeah.
I didn't like how they got... Because he switches sides about halfway through the arc.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like how they switched the sides for him.
Yeah.
But I really liked his character. I feel like we got a real well-rounded like view of his character. He keeps referencing his brother, and it's like you could infer who it is based off his appearance, but later you can that was probably the best handled new character.
I forgot. Who the fucking hell was his brother?
The Minecraft guy from Tower of Heaven.
Yeah.
The blocky face.
Yeah, I remember that. I will say, I think one of the best fights for me in this whole arc is the fight between Gray, Leon, and Racer when they realize that it's not that he's moving fast, It's that he's localized, slowing down time.
That was probably the best fight in this arc.
It was well done, and they made good use of showing that these two characters who previously in an arc were opposing enemies had evolved and could work together.
It's because they actually had a character dynamic between each other going into this, and the fight was really well thought out. Like, this felt like a fucking JoJo fight with how it was like, if you look back at the fight, that makes sense. They even showed the birds a few times before
and
they
you
finally
could see
revealed
it.
it. Yeah.
So I really appreciated that fight. And that is one of my favorite fights in this whole arc, despite my love for Midnight and Cobra, who I feel didn't get enough credit.
There are some characters in this arc, like on the villain side, like lose one fight, and then they're gone the rest of the arc.
Yeah, although I will say, I do need to shout out to Jemmy and Minnie. Gemini.
They were entertaining. I kind of want to see them in the future, but I don't have much to say about them in this arc.
Jemmy and Minnie become really, really important towards Lucy's fighting style going forward, because they do really have like a unique set of abilities that can aid her. And I really personally like them. I just think they're a really fun character to have around. I gotta assume later we get a full like one-off or mini arc about Lucy getting them, because she didn't have their key by the time the arc was over. Mm-hmm.
They disappear after the arc's over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who was the owner of the sheep girl again that supposedly got defeated or died?
What?
They reveal that one of the Oracion Seis has the sheep girl.
Yeah, Lucy, Angel. Angel has
Angel.
The sheep key, Gate of the Ram.
Yeah, Gate of the Ram.
I assume we're going to be coming back to that in the future.
Yeah, who was the original owner of that?
That woman that Loki killed. Remember the Loki arc, the Leo arc, with the Celestial Spirit King, where Loki was like fading away and dying because he'd accidentally killed his former mistress. Yeah, but in reality, she'd gotten into a fight with Angel, where she hadn't been able to summon her two most powerful keys, Ares and Loki, and she died. Therapeutic. That's what that felt like. Yeah. But once again, I mean, that's like a really kind of you have to remember specifically that Ares and Leo were once owned by the same woman from Blue Pegasus, who was killed on a job, when Loki wouldn't let her open her gate keys because she was mistreating them, and then that this is that person. But
I was a little disappointed that for like they're calling back to like another arc for this reveal. And then it's just never referenced again in this arc. Like, we have to wait for a future arc to resolve that. They don't. Yeah. It's not a big plot deal or even character deal for Lucy after that immediate moment. Yeah. And Loki kind of goes like, "Oh shit!" And then Loki disappears for the arc and doesn't come back.
Exactly. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Lucy did have one big new moment in this arc where you find out that now she's strong enough for her what are they called? Her summons can now just kind of let themselves out because she's that powerful. They did reveal that at the very, very butt end of the arc.
Oh, fuck.
And also,
do I have to show you the Daphne arc because of that?
Well, also we had Lucy doing that planet world thingy. So yeah, that was quite cool as well, I guess.
And Seki just realized that filler arc isn't actually that much filler when it comes to a specific character.
Okay. So this is interesting because in the manga, right? So by the end of this arc, right, the Oracion Seis have all been arrested, right? Mm-hmm. In the manga, at the end of this arc, right, Scorpio, Aries, and Gemini then seek out Lucy and form contracts with her. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's shown in the anime if it was casually mentioned maybe at the end of the final episode.
Nope.
Or if it maybe gets mentioned in the Daphne filler arc that's immediately next. Now, I didn't want to show you guys the Daphne filler arc.
But suddenly you realize there's a missing piece here.
Because she is her servant in Edelus. Mm-hmm. I might just show you the panel in the manga. I don't want to watch the Daphne arc just to get that I don't.
Is it one scene?
Yeah. They literally just seek her out to form contracts with her. Also, Scorpio is Aquarius' boyfriend, which is fucking hilarious.
I mean, with Gemini now, can't they call out two of them? Because no. I don't remember how Gemini works specifically.
Gemini is one key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lucy is able to kind of improve her ability to call out more and more keys.
Mm-hmm.
Like you remember, she is right now, I think, able to hold two celestial keys out. Yeah. So like she could call out like Loki and Gemini, or something. I will say, I think the people who came out of this arc the best were Gray and Lucy. I don't think Urza or Natsu.
Yeah,
God, they fucked with Jalal's story.
Yeah, well, Jalal's story is
like going out of the Tower of Heaven arc. It's like, oh, they didn't redeem a villain that was hugely connected to the heroes. He just kind of dies, and he's implied to come back in the future, maybe. But he's remaining a villain, and Urza. This could be a really good character, like beat for Urza. In first time back, almost immediately, he's a good guy, or he's lost his memory.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Oh, fuck! They ruined Jalal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where things really hurt. Like, if it were just this and, like, the opening arc of Fairy Tail and Tower of Heaven or something, this would have drawn me. Like, there's a lot of goodwill here built up between me liking Tower of Heaven, Battle of Fairy Tail, and what was it? That one arc where it was the rival Guild of Fairy Tail.
Yeah.
All the arcs put together is the only reason this went to a event and not a shit for me.
You had a really good run of Phantom Lord, Tower of Heaven, Battle of Fairy Tail, and to be honest, that's like the strongest trilogy of arcs before Edolus. Like, it's very strong. And then in my opinion, Edolus actually fits in as kind of like a part 4 of that trilogy. But then, like I said, I'd completely forgotten that Oracion Seis was before it.
This arc just feels like the author had some fun shit and decided, you know what, we're gonna backtrack on that, fall into this very safe. Almost no one dies except for the main villain and his stick sidekick that had all of 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Wait,
also, Natsu versus.
Oh wait, no, he didn't.
Also, Natsu versus Cobra, Dragon Slayer v Dragon Slayer. Whatever, we've seen that before already. Because we've seen Natsu versus Gajiel, and we've seen Natsu versus Laxus, and Natsu and Gajiel versus Laxus.
And those are so much better fights.
Yeah, this was not a starring moment of Cobra. This was not him at his best.
And it just felt like there were so many final battles in this arc where it was like, oh, this is the big climactic fight. Oh, but no, this guy was behind it all along, and now he's fighting. Oh, he's defeated. Oh, look, the stick is actually here. Is that the main villain? No, it's another personality in this guy's body. And, oh, Christ, there were too many final fights.
Too many secret bosses.
Yeah.
I think it was just because they split them all up so much at the beginning, and kind of almost in random pairings, it seemed like, except for Gray and Leon.
Oh, and then they built up Jalal, like, oh, is this going to be the grand return of Villain Jalal? And no. No. It's like, there wasn't a very easy to see endpoint here, so it felt like a lot of it was dragged out. We
did get to see Urza's robe of Yuan, that purple outfit. We love Urza's little outfits. I like those. Also, we learned what happened to Kate's shelter.
That needed to be built up more.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Sorry. I'm trying to let him out, so. But yeah, no, that needed work. The Kate shelter bit especially, because I feel like they could have made that really...
That could have been a fucking arc on its own.
Yeah, like that could have been so touching, and it just...
But when it's just this arc of nonstop fights, the Kate Shelter crew were never made to be... Like, we should have actually had the main cast meet the Kate Shelter crew beforehand.
Yeah.
That should have been the guild they met up in.
Yeah.
And Kate Shelter should have had a more active role in this arc.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, this is... You only feel sad because the new original character for this arc felt sad. I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about my dislike for some of the elements of this arc.
No, that's fair.
That's fair, yeah.
But, by that, we do get Wendy joining fairy
Yeah.
tale. Wendy and Shalu. Carla. Her name is phoneticized as Carla in every written form, but in the anime, I swear to fucking God, they're always saying Shalu, and I'm like, what the fuck are the extra syllables coming from? You know what I mean? Like, it's Carla, but how is what they say Carla?
That's just the English translation trying not to make a word that sounds vaguely French.
Yeah. Also, we do, I almost forgot about this, we do get a fun little tidbit of information right at the end of this arc. Gildarts is coming back, the strongest mage in Fairy Tale.
That's right.
We do get that. Because remember, we had that whole discussion a couple arcs back where they were talking about the strongest members of Fairy Tale, and they mentioned Mystigan and Loxus and the ever-elusive Gildarts, who we have never seen before.
I feel like the strongest mages in Fairy Tale coming back never leads to good things. Loxus...
Yeah.
We also saw Mystigan very briefly at the end of this arc.
Loxus nearly destroys Fairy Tale. Mystigan has a face reveal that made Urza shit herself.
Yeah.
Urza tends to blow things up when she gets involved.
Yeah.
I feel like the strongest mages in Fairy Tale are never a good thing for Fairy Tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the most destructive guild out there.
Yeah.
What do you fucking expect?
But that destruction is squarely on them and Natsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta love that.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love that.
So waifu wars now?
Yeah, I feel like we could do waifu wars.
Waifu wars.
Waifu wars. Waifu wars. Born.
Okay, so I technically have two.
Okay.
But one is a future one. I think Wendy will be a future waifu.
Okay.
Currently...
Is baby.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But I think currently right now it's Lucy. I really did like how she actually progressed in this arc. So, yeah.
It was very nice of her to put Leo away when she realized that Leo would be forced to fight Ares.
I mean, Leo got shot.
Well, yeah, but that's because he didn't want to fight Ares.
Yeah.
NikNak.
Christina.
The female cat.
No.
No, Christina's the unicorn Pegasus ship.
It's the airship.
Oh,
The one that gets blown out of the sky at the start of the arc has a dramatic reappearance to do one thing and then gets blown out of the sky.
Christ.
There was literally I had sarcastically said when it got blown out of the sky first time to Seki while we were watching, oh my god, they killed Christina, no!
Yeah.
And then as I'm watching it on my own to finish the arc, I text Seki, literally right now, just out loud without thinking about it, said, oh god, Christina's alive!
Yeah. Christina,
no!
Okay, I've got a little bit of a two-parter here too. I've got two waifus. And that's just because at the moment I can't choose between them, and I'm going with arc waifus. My overall waifu has not changed, but these are my in-arc waifus, right? And it's Cobra and Midnight, and I can't choose between them at the moment because further characterization has not been bestowed upon you.
Okay.
At the moment, so they're my boys. They're my boys.
I'll say this, because technically she was in arc, if I have to pick an actual person and not an airship, technically Juvia was an arc for one scene.
She was
Yeah.
briefly in the arc. We will see more of her. We will see a lot more of her.
Juvia is still best girl.
So, with that being said, we're gonna move out of this and move into spoiler free talk.
Yeah. So,
comment, subscribe to continue the fairy tale quest. We will make it to the end by 100 Years Quest.
try harder, everyone.